Hey, welcome to your next best step with Brek Cockrell, the locker room for purpose-driven leaders. This is where we slow down, reflect, and we take our next best step through real stories, practical strategies, and rooted leadership wisdom. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, even the best leaders need a coach in their corner.
Hey, I want to tell you about a leader I've been working with recently. She's sharp, she's self-aware, she's done the hard work, inner work most people never do, therapy, the health journey, the honest look in the mirror. She is, by every measure, ready to lead, but she is struggling. Not because she isn't talented, not because she doesn't care, not because her team is bad. She's struggling because a couple of years ago, somebody walked into her office and said, "Hey, you've done some great work. We're promoting you." And nobody prepared her for what that would actually cost. Nobody told her that the skills that made her the best in her old role would not be the skills that make her the best in this new one. Nobody told her that the day she accepted that title, she was going to have to learn to play a new instrument. Nobody sat with her and said, "Here's what's about to get hard, and here's how we're going to walk through it together." She got a title, but she didn't get a plan. And today on the podcast, I want to talk about why that matters so much, not just for her, but for every leader listening who's either been promoted without preparation or is about to promote somebody without preparation. Because here's what I've learned the hard way after several decades working with leaders and hundreds of conversations with them, with leaders who are quietly drowning. Promotion is not a reward, it's a responsibility for other people's growth. And everything still depends on trust. This is your next best step. Hey, friends, welcome back to your next best step, the Leaders Locker Room. I'm BC. And if this is your first time here, the locker room is where leaders go to slow down, get real, and get rooted so you can do some of the dirt work to ensure that the fruit begins to work. So let's get started. Let's jump into our conversation today. You'll have to excuse me. I've been fighting a cold. If I sound a little weird, it's because I got some congestion and some stuff, and you'll just have to bear with me if you're watching it. I may have to wipe my nose a time or two. If you're just listening, that's why. So get a cup of coffee or grab you a Coke Zero like I have here, and let's get down to work. Let me start with some numbers because I think these were unsettling to me as I saw them. Gallup published research recently alongside some great reporting in Harvard Business Review on what they're calling a modern version of the Peter Principle. If you don't know that term, it's the idea that in most organizations, people keep getting promoted until they reach a level, or as John Maxwell said, a lid where they're no longer competent. And then they stay there, struggling, stuck, quietly disengaging. And here's what the research found. Listen to this. 65% of frontline leaders were placed in their role because they were good at their previous job. Not because they had leadership aptitude so much, not because they had been developed, not because somebody looked at them and said, "This person has the heart and the capacity to lead other people," just because they were a top performer. Tag, you're it. Only 30% were placed into leadership because of actual supervisory skill. 30%. And here's the one that, man, really jumped out. 70% of your team's engagement, 70% is driven by their direct manager, not the hierarchy, the direct manager. So when we promote someone without preparing them, leaders, we're not just creating one struggling leader. We are capping an entire team. We're putting a lid on an entire team. We are dropping a lid on every person underneath them. We are, without meaning to, slowing the growth of everyone in their orbit. There's more. National Bureau of Economic Research found that when organizations promote top performers into management without developing them first, sales performance drops by about 7.5 to 8%. You say that's not a ton. Well, it is month after month, year after year. You lose the producer and gain an unprepared leader in the same move. We don't typically make moves in leadership to actually decline. We want to do it to advance, right? But the study says this is the results. This is what happened. Listen to this, only 45% of frontline supervisors received any leadership training in the past year. That's nearly 1 in 4 have never received any. Not ever, not once. We are putting people in charge of other people's careers, other people's growth, other people's experience of going to work every day, and we are not preparing them for the sacred responsibility of leadership. Friends, that's not a leadership problem. I would say that's a stewardship problem, because I think one of a great definition that I heard from Andy Stanley, leadership is a stewardship. It's temporary, and we are going to be held accountable. So here's the reframe. I want you to write some of this stuff down. You might take some notes. Promotion is not a reward. We often think, well, promotion, man, that's a reward, all this stuff. No, promotion is not a reward. Promotion is a responsibility. A responsibility is for other people's growth. John Maxwell talks about the shift from being a soloist to being a conductor. I love that, right? Because it captures something that most of us miss. When you're a soloist, the job is you, your voice, your skill, your performance. The better you are, the better music you play. But the day they hand you the baton and say, hey, guess what? We're moving you out of first chair and onto the conducting stage. Everything changes in that moment. Your job is no longer to play. Your job is to help other people play better than they could play without you. Your job is to listen to the whole orchestra, not just your part. Your job is to step back so that people can step forward. And here's what happens when we don't prepare people for that shift. They keep playing their old instrument. They keep playing in the first chair, right? Harder, louder, more. They try to outproduce the team because it's the only thing they know how to do. They get into everybody's territory. They burn out. The team gets frustrated. And before long, what was once your best performer is now your most exhausted, disengaged, disillusioned manager. Seen it many times. I've lived it partly my own self. Here's what I want you to hear. This is not their fault. This is a leadership failure happening one level up. We did this to them. We made the promotion itself the training program. When we said, hey, you'll figure it out, I did. When we treated the new title like it's a graduation instead of it's being kindergarten. Let me come back to the leader I mentioned at the start. She was promoted about 2 years ago, inherited a team mid-project, a massive kind of a once-in-a-career kind of project, massive, impacted the whole organization. The kind of project where everybody's head kind of stays down, hair on fire, and for a couple of years, like, there's no time for development. We just got to get this project done. Here's the wrinkle in that, though. The person who used to hold her job is now her boss. You hear what I'm saying? They promoted her into the next level, a director role. And now her boss used to sit in her seat. Her direct manager used to do her job. And her manager, through no malice, she's incredible person, through no bad intent, it's never our intent, it's our attention and our intention, still has what she calls muscle memory for that role. still makes calls that now belong to her, still gets approached by team members who route around the new leader and go straight to the old one because that's what the team has always done. And nobody reset it. So here's what she's dealing with every day. She tries to make a decision. Her boss overrides it. She gives direction to the team. A team member goes to her boss and gets a different answer. She tries to establish her authority. The structure itself contradicts her. And here's what's happening inside of her quietly. She's starting to doubt her voice. She's overcorrecting by being more direct and getting feedback that she comes across maybe as a little too arrogant. She's working on herself harder and harder. More therapy, more reading, more coaching, trying to fix what she's been told is her problem. Friends, here's what I had to tell her. And I want to tell you the same thing if any of this sounds like your life. You cannot fix a structural problem with personal growth. Can't do it. You could be the most self-aware, emotionally healthy, spiritually rooted leader on the planet. And if the system you're operating in contradicts your authority every single day, you will feel like you are failing because the system is rigged against the role you're trying to play. That's not a coaching failure. That's not a character flaw. That's a reporting structure that needs a conversation. And if you've been stuck in something like that, I want you to hear me today. It's not your job to carry alone. If you've been around me a little bit, if you've been following me on this podcast a little bit, you know that I have this framework, EDOT. Everything depends on trust. Trust is the soil from which everything good grows from. Leadership grows in it. Teams grow in it. Culture grows in it. And when the soil goes bad, nothing on the surface can compensate for the bad soil. Here's what I need you to see today, leaders. When we promote somebody without preparing them, trust erodes in three directions at the same time. And most leaders only try to fix one of them. Direction number one, the team's trust in the new leader. The team watches the new leader fumble the first few decisions because, of course, they do. They're new. And their trust starts to wobble. They start routing around the new leader. They start looking for stability elsewhere. This is the one everybody notices. But there's direction number two. The new leaders trust in themselves. This one's quieter. It's a bit more deadlier. Goes a little deeper. The new leader starts to wonder if they have what it takes. They start reading books on self-help and leadership at 2 a.m. They start over-preparing for every meeting. They start losing sleep, and nobody sees it because on the outside, they look like they're just working harder. Direction three, the organization's trust in its own promotion process. When promotions keep going sideways, the whole company starts to get cynical about leadership. People start saying they don't know what they're doing up there. Recruiting gets harder. Culture gets thinner. The soil gets depleted. And here's what I want you to hear. Development before promotion is how you protect the soil. Did you hear me? Development before the promotion is how you protect the soil. That's not a nice to have. That's not an HR initiative. That's a stewardship of the trust that makes your whole organization possible. You've heard me talk about Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. That's trusting this way. But I'm here to tell you that trust also needs to go this way, horizontally. And I believe that people that we lead need that because we lead out of what we receive. And if the people around us can't trust us, we can't trust ourselves. We cannot lead them anywhere worth going. All right, so what do we do with this? You've been listening and something's tightening in your chest, maybe because you're the leader who got promoted without preparation, or maybe because you're the leader who's been promoting people that way. I want to give you some next best steps. Not a 10-point plan, just here's the next best one. If you're the leader who got promoted without preparation, here's your next best step. Stop trying to fix it alone. Hear me? Stop trying to fix it alone. Get yourself a coach, a mentor, a trusted peer, somebody outside the system who can help you see clearly. I can see clearly now. The rain, the rain's gone. I need to be able to see clearly now. And then with their help, prepare one honest conversation with your manager, not a confrontation, a conversation about authority, about alignment, about what it would look like for the two of you to row in the same direction, the same direction. Two words that sound almost the same, which are not, but they're important to understand the difference. There's agreement and there's alignment. And in this conversation, you need to make some agreements, some boundaries, some ways that you're going to operate so that when you walk out the door, you are both in alignment. You don't need permission to grow, but you do need some clarity. And clarity almost always comes through a conversation most people are too scared to have. You need to have some courageous conversations. If you're the leader who's been promoting people without preparation, here's your next best step. Pick one person on your team, this next week, who is on the path toward leadership. And this week, invite them into a meeting on your calendar. Tell them, I want you to sit in. Don't say anything. All I want you to do is watch, and we'll debrief afterwards. See, you don't have to add leadership development to your calendar. Add leadership development to what's already on your calendar. That is how leaders have been developed for generations, not in classrooms, but in the presence of other leaders who brought them along. That's what good leaders do. And if you're an executive or a founder listening right now, here are 3 questions I want you to sit with. Who on my team is prepared to lead people? Not the question I didn't say is, who is my best producer? Who's performing well? No. Who on my team is right now currently prepared to lead people? Who are we intentionally preparing right now to lead people? Are you actually creating a bench for the next leader? If this person weren't here on Monday, who would sit in their seat? If you don't have answers, that's not a failure. It's a starting point. Because here's the line I want you to carry home from this episode. Your job is not to build a company. Your job is to build the people who become the company. If you grow the people, you grow the business every single time. Friends, I want to close with this. If you are that leader I described at the beginning, the one who got the title without the training, the one who's quietly wondering if you have what it takes, the one who's working on yourself so hard because you think the problem must be you, I want you to hear me. You're not broken. You're not failing. You are likely operating in a system that was never set up for you to succeed. And the work you're doing on yourself, it's good, it's right, it's holy, it's sacred, but it's not the whole answer. Some of the answer lives outside of you in a conversation, in clarity, in a structure that needs to be named and renegotiated. You don't have to carry it alone. In fact, you were never meant to. And if you're the leader on the other side of this, the one who has the power to develop somebody, to prepare somebody, to pull somebody aside and say, let me walk with you through this, I want to challenge you this week. Don't promote first and train later. Let me say it again. Don't promote first and train later. Grow your people before you hand them the baton. Protect the soil. Build the bridge. Turn on the light. Everything still depends on trust. Everything. That's your next best step. Hey, and I'll see you the next time here in the locker room.